Hi, hello, what's up? Welcome to Tax Ladder. My name is Shivakant and I'm a chartered accountant. Today we're going to continue our series of revision lectures. Our topic of discussion today is place of supply. Section 10 to section 13. Section 10 and 11 give us the place of supply for goods. Section 12 and 13 give us the place of supply for services. Dive into it quickly. Here we look at section 10. Section 10 subsection 1 says that the place of supply for goods is given as follows. Where supply of movement involves goods, the place of supply shall be the location of the goods at the time when movement of goods terminates. Where goods are delivered by supplier to the recipient on the directions of the third person, it is one case. Where supply does not involve movement of goods, the place of supply shall be the location of goods at the time when delivery to the recipient. So these are the cases of place of supply. We'll look at it one by one. First one, is there movement of goods? If there is movement of goods, the place of supply is when the movement of goods terminates. Let us say you get something from Amazon. Is there movement of goods involved? You order something from Amazon, of course there is movement of goods. So here the place of supply would be, where does the movement of goods terminate? It will terminate at your house. So the place of supply is the state where your house is. It is, if you are in Maharashtra, it is the state of Maharashtra. Alright, in case there is movement of goods, place of supply shall be the location of the goods when the movement of goods terminates. Understood? So here, where supply does not involve movement of goods, place of supply shall be the location of the goods at the time of delivery to the recipient. Let us say there is no movement of goods. What can be a case? Alright, you have taken an office space on lease. It is fully furnished. After 5 years, what you decide? You decide that you're gonna buy the whole building along with the furniture inside. In this case, looking at the furniture's point of view, it is absolutely goods. Is there movement of goods? No, there is no movement of goods because the goods are at your place now, so there's no movement required. In this case, the place of supply would be the location of the goods at the time of delivery to the recipient. Here, what is the location of the goods? Where the goods are actually present in the office. So that would be the place. Let us say the building that is being sold along with furniture is in the state of Gujarat. Then the place of supply of the goods shall be when at what location are the goods delivered or made available. It is in Gujarat because the goods are already there. There is no movement of goods. So the place of supply is Gujarat in case there is no movement of goods. Now what if the goods are assembled or installed at site? In case, let us say I order a huge plant and machinery for my factory and he has to install the machinery in my factory. He has to, what he does is he brings uninstalled parts, he installs them at my factory because it is something which has longevity. It has to be installed right from scratch in my factory. The machinery in itself is not brought in a truck and put there. It has to be built at my factory. So in such a case, the place of supply would be the location where the goods or all those parts are installed. Where does that installation happen? In my factory. The place of supply would be the state where my factory is. So that is the place of supply in case of goods installed or assembled at site. Now what about where goods are supplied on board a conveyance? Now what does that mean? When you board a railway station, you might be buying certain kinds of stuff, be it biscuits, chocolates, cool drinks, ice cream. In that case, the place of supply would be the place where the goods are taken on board the conveyance. That means, let us say you boarded the train in Chennai, the place of supply would be the place where the goods are taken on board. You bought it in, the goods have boarded the train in Chennai, you have bought it in, the train is going from Chennai to Maharashtra, you bought the biscuits in Karnataka. Even though you bought the biscuits in Karnataka, because the goods have boarded the train in Chennai, the place of supply would be Chennai. It does not matter where you buy it. What matters is when have the goods boarded the train. Alright. So the final thing left for us is goods are delivered by the supplier to the recipient on the directions of the third person. So what does this mean? This is a bill to ship to model. So in this case, the place of supply shall be deemed that the third person has received the goods, and place of supply shall be the principal place of business. Now, alright, let us look at this example. X of Tamil Nadu tells Y, X of Tamil Nadu supplies goods to Z of Gujarat. So he does not know Z, he only knows Y. He is doing this delivery as per the direction of Y. Alright, there are two transactions here. One between, actually what is the substance of this transaction? The substance is X is delivering the goods to Y, but Y says no, do not deliver the goods to me. You deliver the goods to Z in Gujarat. So this is what you give the bill in my name, you ship the goods to Z. Alright, bill to Y, ship to Z. Understand? So in this case, what are the two transactions? X is supplying goods to Y, and the other transaction is between Y of Maharashtra and Z of Gujarat, because Y maybe had to supply goods to Z. So he says, okay, you deliver the goods directly to Z. So in turn, what Y does? Y raises a bill on Z. So this is an independent transaction. This would have a normal place of supply. What is the place of supply where there is movement of goods? The place of supply is the place where movement of goods terminates. So in this case, between the transaction of Y and Z, the movement is terminating in Gujarat. So for this transaction, the place of supply is Gujarat. So that is settled. Now the question is, the transaction between X and Z is actually a transaction between X and Y. So it is deemed that it is a transaction between whom? The third person and the supplier. And the place of supply is the ordinary place of business of the third person, which is in this case the third person is Y. So the place of supply would be Maharashtra. The logic here is, where are the goods being consumed? Okay, ultimately, so the transaction has to be X supplies to Y and Y to Z. So this has to happen. Otherwise, there is a break of chain. Now X is supplying goods to Y of Maharashtra. So Y has to take credit of this and raise an outward bill of supply, outward invoice on Z. So that is the chain of transaction. But if I do not say this, the ultimate tax is going double times to Gujarat. So that should not happen. That is why this specific provision has been inserted. Let us look at this. Goods delivered by the supplier to the recipient on the directions of the third person. Here the recipient is not the actual definition recipient. The recipient, as per the definition under the GST law, is the person who pays the consideration. So that is not the recipient he is talking about. He is talking about the person who receives the goods, the physical recipient he is talking about in this provision, specific provision. He is not talking of the definition of recipient. That is how the wording of the law should be studied. It shall be deemed that the third person has received the goods. Alright, it is deemed that this guy has received the goods, and the place of supply shall be the principal place of business of such person. Place of supply shall be the principal place of business of Y of Maharashtra. So we are talking of the transaction between X and Z. It is treated as the goods have been supplied to Y, and it is also treated that the place of supply will be the principal place of business of Y. Understood? Alright. Now, in case of goods imported into or exported from India, section 11. In case of goods imported into India, the place of supply shall be the location of imported. Simple. What is import? Bringing into India from a place outside India. So the place of supply would be the location of the importer. Importer is any person who declares himself to be the importer, or whose name is specified in the documents to be an importer. What are the documents? The import documents could be a bill of entry or other kind of documents, the customs clearance documents. In case of goods exported from India, the place of supply would be the location outside India. Where am I exporting the goods to? Let us say I export coffee beans from India to Malaysia. Where are the goods going? The goods are going to Malaysia. The place where I am exporting is Malaysia. So the place of supply would be the location outside India, which is Malaysia. Alright, this is what section 11 talks about. Now let us go into services. So most people say that there is no logic at all for me to remember the place of supply for services. There are so many things, but today we will bust that myth and we will look at what the place of supply for services is. Place of supply for services is divided into two cases where the location of supplier and the recipient are in the country, where the location of supplier or the location of recipient, any one of those are outside India, then section 13 shall apply. So if both the supplier and recipient are in the taxable territory, which is India, then section 12 should be looked at. You have to forget section 13. Do not link both of them. I repeat, do not link both of them. Do not compare both of them. Both are independent. So blindly, first thing you have to look at is, are the supplier and recipient in the problem in India? Yes, look at section 12. Are the supplier and recipient out of India? Any one of them out of India? Yes, then look at section 13. It is as simple as that. You forget the other section, section 13, if you are looking at section 12. You forget section 12 if you are looking at 13. Do not compare both of them. You'll get confused. I am damn sure that you'll get confused. Alright. Now let us start section 12. We'll find out a logic as to why this is the place of supply in each case. Alright, let us, the supplier and recipient are in the taxable territory. Look at section 12. The basic principle based on which we will remember everything is, which state is actually consuming the service. By heart or in substance, which state is consuming the service. So that will be the place of supply. Alright. Because GST is a destination or consumption based tax, wherein the tax goes to the state where the goods are ultimately consumed. That is the final thing we'll remember in looking at each place of supply. Alright. So this is the general clause, section 12 subsection 2, where in case any other specific clauses are not applicable, this would be the place of supply. Where I am unable to determine the place of supply as per section 12 subsection 3 to 12 subsection 14, I will take the place of supply to be, if he is a registered person, the location of the registered person as per his registration. If he is not a registered person, in case of a B2C supply, the location of the recipient in the records of supplier, or the location of supplier in other cases. So the ultimate logic is a normal supply which does not fall under the specific cases. It is a destination based tax, right? So ultimately, in case of any service, who would consume the goods? Who would consume the services? The recipient. So the tax has to go to the state where the recipient is registered, right? Ultimately, because GST is a consumption based tax. If I put the place of supply in the supplier's business place, so that is unfair. It is against the destination based tax concept. So the first and foremost thing is, who is consuming the goods? The recipient. So the thumb rule is, recipient is consuming the services. So the place of the recipient will be the place of supply. In case of B2B, the location of such a registered person. In case of B2C, still I go for the location of the recipient in the records of supplier, because I have to adhere to consumption based tax. If it is not available, then the final option will be, okay, I am unable to find out, then I'll take the supplier's address, location of supplier in other cases. Understood? So this is the general clause. So for everything, it will be the same logic. So 12 subsection 3, service in relation to immovable property, like service of architect, surveyor, decorator, real estate agent, grant of right to use immovable property, or renting of immovable property, service by of lodging, accommodation in a hotel, guest house, club, campsite, accommodation in any immovable property for organizing a marriage function, business function, including services in relation to such function. All right. So here, just imagine what is the, where is the service being consumed? The ultimate criteria would be the service of, be it renting of immovable property or providing accommodation, would be consumed in the hotel or that place where this actual immovable property is located. Even real estate agents, ultimately the service would be consumed in the location where the immovable property is located. Take the real estate agent for example. He's always revolving around the house. He's showing people the house. He's providing advice about the house. See the doors. He's portraying the house to be of a lot of worth. So all of the services are ultimately being consumed at the location of the immovable property. So obviously the place of supply would be the location of immovable property. So in case of a houseboat or a vessel is rented out, then it will be the, in case the immovable property is located outside India, or house or a housing boat or vessel is located outside India, I do not want the tax to become an export and lose tax, because the supplier and recipient are in India and majorly it is an Indian transaction. So I want tax in India. So if the immovable property, as per this law, let us say I am buying a property in Dubai and the seller is, or the person, the real estate agent is in India and the person who is buying is in India, but the property is in Dubai. In that case, for real estate agent service, the place of supply would be Dubai. This would come under export of service if the amount is received in convertible foreign exchange. So anybody, in order to evade tax or avoid tax, would make it an export and try to lessen the amount payable. So in order to avoid this, what he says is, no, in case the immovable property is located outside India, make the place of supply the location of the recipient. Ultimately go to the consumption. So okay, what is the next option from a consumption point of view? I will take the location of recipient. So that would be the place of supply. Understand? 12 subsection 4. Restaurant, personal grooming, fitness, beauty. So okay, where is the service consumed? In the hotel. I go to the hotel, eat. So okay, in case of gym, where is the service consumed? In the gym. So in order to make it more structured, the place where the service is performed is where the service is consumed. So that is what the place of supply is. Understand? So look at where is the service consumed ultimately at heart. So it is consumed in the gym or any of these places. Plastic surgery, hospital, or if he comes to your house in any other state, that is the place. 12 subsection 5, training and performance appraisal services. Now, okay, training and performance appraisal. Why did he not put it here? Why could he have not added this here? Why could he just not have said, why don't you add it to 12.4 and say that the place of supply is where the services are performed? Okay, the reason is, see, let us say accounting. Okay, one company is there, Softex Limited in Telangana. For the employees of the finance department of Softex Limited, I want to train them in the latest amendments in GST. So what do I do? So I organize a seminar for the employees in Delhi. So the organization is in Hyderabad. So the employees I ask come to Delhi. I am located in, my registered office is in Tamil Nadu. So 3 places are here. Now if I add this here, then the place of supply would be New Delhi, because the service is actually being performed in Delhi. But that is not true. who is the ultimate consumer of service? The employees, right? The employees belong to which organization? The employees belong to Softex Limited in Hyderabad. So the ultimate consumption is happening in Hyderabad, in the state of Telangana. So Telangana would lose revenue here. So he's looking at the ultimate consumption at heart. So I say B2B, what is the location of the registered person? So what is the location of the person who is registered? So Softex Limited is registered in Telangana. So the place of supply would be the location of Softex, which is Telangana. Now, if it is not, he is not a registered person, then okay, do whatever you want. I'll add it to the place where service is actually performed. Understood? So 12 subsection 6, admission to a cultural, artistic, sporting, scientific, educational, entertainment event or amusement park. Where is the service consumed? Simple, huh? This cannot be much more simpler than this. In the place where the actual event is held, there's no real doubt about this. Where is the service consumed? Now 12 subsection 7, organization of a, now look at this, admission to this and organization is separately given. All right. So organization has the same logic as why this training and performance was not included in the restaurant and personal grooming. That is the same reason why organization of these services is not included here. Okay, the service is actually performed at the place where event is happening, but where is it being consumed? To whose benefit? To which state's benefit? For the benefit of, okay, for the event being conducted by a person in Telangana. So, taking that into account, I say B2B, the location of the registered person, which will be the person who is conducting the event, would also have appointed a event management company. So if that Softex Limited is the person conducting the event, then that person is located in Telangana, that would be the place of supply. Even services ancillary to organization of such events, like assigning of sponsorship. Sponsorship has been brought from some other company. The place of supply would be the location of the registered recipient to whom sponsorship is being provided, Softex Limited. Now, in case he is not registered, then again you do whatever you want. The place where event is actually held. In case the event takes place outside India, I don't want to lose revenue because the supplier and the recipient are in India. I cannot just throw away the tax that I should get because supplier and recipient are in India. So that is why what I say, in case the event takes place outside India, place of supply shall be the location of recipient. The ultimate direction is consumption. Normally the recipient consumes it. That is the thumb rule. Now 12 subsection 8. Transportation of goods including by mail or courier. 12 subsection 8. Transportation of goods by mail or courier. So here goods, let us say you have hired a goods transport agency for transportation of goods from, let us say, Himachal Pradesh to Punjab. You are in Himachal Pradesh, you have hired a person, a GTA, to transport the goods from Himachal Pradesh to Assam. Now in this case, where are the services being consumed? Actually, where are the services being consumed? You have hired them, the goods are to be transported from Himachal Pradesh to Haryana. Being consumed, at heart the goods are being consumed at the place where the recipient is there. So you would have hired a goods transport agency in Himachal Pradesh. If you are registered, I would take your place because it seems logical. I would hire a person in my state to carry the goods from here to the place I want. Alright, so the place of supply would be the location of the recipient if he is registered. What if he is not registered? Now, the goods would have been consumed, anybody would have given the goods to the goods transport agency. Ideally, the goods would be transported from the place where the service recipient is there. So if I am transporting goods, I would have handed it over to the goods transport agency. So when have I handed it over? At what location did I hand over to the goods transport agency? That would be the place of supply. In case of B2C, location where the goods are handed over for transportation, because that is the state where the service is ultimately consumed. In the state where goods are handed over for delivery to the recipient. In case of transportation of goods outside India, so I've entered into an agreement with a logistics company to ship the goods to Singapore. In this case, it is deemed that the supplier of transport service is an Indian company, the recipient of service is also me, Indian. So in this case, if this is not there, the place of supply would be subject to tax. Therefore, what he did is, he made the place of supply is deemed to be outside India. The place where goods are going on, the destination, which is Singapore, would be the place of supply. So to sum it up, in case of transportation of goods including mail or courier, the place of supply would be the location of the registered person, in case he is B2B. In case of B2C, where have I handed over the goods to the transporter? Location where goods are handed over to the transporter. Alright, 12 subsection 9, passenger transportation. This is also simple. Where are passenger transport service consumed? Normally, my office would be somewhere and I book a ticket from that place to some other place, right? Generally, ideally speaking. So I would have consumed the service at the place of my business. Indirectly, the consumption is in the state where my business is there. So the place of supply is the location of such a registered person, B2B. In case it's B2C, so when have I boarded the train for a continuous journey? Continuous journey is a journey where there are no breaks in between, unless there are fixed stations. So where have I boarded the train? Normally that is the place where I would have consumed the service. The starting point of my continuous journey would be the place of supply, in case I am not registered. Now, right to passage. Now let us say I take a pass. I take an IRCTC pass so that I can travel for 6 months from anywhere to anywhere. I really don't know when I will encash this and from which station to which station I'll go, because it is uncertain. It is only a topped up amount which I can use anywhere in the country. So in that case, what is the place of supply? Right to passage is given for future use and point of embarkation is not known. Then general clause applies. What is the general clause? 12 subsection 2. What does it say? The location of the recipient, if he is registered. So if I am a registered person, the location of the registered person. If not, the location of the recipient in the records of the supplier. In IRCTC's books, I might have given some billing address, right? So that would be the place of supply. Otherwise, the location of supplier, IRCTC, as per 12.2. Return journey. So if I book a to and fro ticket for a flight, so the going journey is treated separately and the returning journey is treated separately, and two places of supply should be taken into account. Understood? It is not just because that I booked one ticket for to and fro journey, it does not mean that it will be a single place of supply. So two tickets have to be issued by the airline giving two places of supply. Alright. Now let us look at section 12 subsection 10. Services on board a conveyance. What does this mean? In an aeroplane, generally I get to watch a lot of TV channels for free if I am boarding a luxury flight, and I also have an option to make a certain calls even though I am on air, because my phone would be in flight mode. I still have an option to make a couple of phone calls when I'm boarding a premium flight. So these are services that are being provided to me on board a conveyance. So where are the services ultimately consumed? You tell me. The services are being consumed at the first scheduled point of departure, similar to when I board the train, because I just cannot tell you when I watch the TV show or when I watch the movie. So what is available to me is to say that the service is consumed here is when has the flight started, first scheduled point of departure of the conveyance, when has the flight first started, because from that point onwards the service is being provided. So what he says is place of supply is the first scheduled point of departure. The service is available from the moment the flight has started. So the first scheduled point, even though it is a Hyderabad to Delhi flight and it stops in Chennai and I board in Chennai, Hyderabad would be the first scheduled point of departure and the place of supply would be Hyderabad for the entertainment services that I get in the flight. Understood? This is section 12 subsection 10. Now 12 subsection 11. What is 12 subsection 11? Fixed telecommunication line, lease circuit, dish, antenna, cable. So all of you must be having a landline, a lease circuit, a dish, antenna, cable. In that case, what is the state where the service is consumed? Obviously, the clear picture would be where is the antenna installed. That is where you would be receiving the signals, right? Or you would be receiving the telephone signals for you to use it. So that is the place where I consider it as place of supply. Location where such telecommunication line, lease circuit, dish or antenna are installed. Postpaid mobile connection. In this case, where is the service being consumed? Obviously, it would be the postpaid mobile or internet. In this case, obviously, it will be the location billing address of the recipient, billing address of the recipient in the record of supply, because that is where the service is being consumed. Ideally, even if you travel up, to some other state, you will be treated as having place of supply, because I cannot keep on tracking where you are and raise a bill in that manner. And moreover, tracking your location is not legal. So I would consider that your billing address is your place of supply always. Prepaid mobile. So prepaid mobile and DTH services bought through voucher. How many of you might have recharged through a voucher? So in this case, you might buy a voucher from a retail shop. It could be an agent, a reseller, a distributor of SIM cards. In that case, the service would be consumed in the state where that guy sells it. Sold through supplier, reseller. So it is said to be consumed in the place where, okay, address of such person in the records of supplier. So that selling agent's address would be there in the books of Airtel, right? He would be registered with Airtel saying that he is selling Airtel vouchers in his shop. So the address of that reseller or distributor would be the place of supply. In case it is sold through any other person, then where did he make the payment? Where is the payment received? So that is one more ideal way to find out where the service is consumed. In case I recharge through internet, the location of the recipient in the record of supplier, ultimately it is the location of the recipient where the service would be consumed in the records of supplier. Any telephone company would take the location of the subscriber, it would get the address proof and ID proof. So this would be a very easy thing to find out where is the location of recipient in the records of supplier. In any other case, it would be this. Even in case of net banking, it would be the location of recipient in the address of the, most of us do it through net banking now. So banking and financial services. So just imagine if you go to an ATM and withdraw, where is the service being ultimately consumed? So you would say, even though I withdraw from any other state, ultimately it is being used for my business. So what I say is the location of recipient in the records of the supplier. If the record is not available, the location of supplier. Understand? Insurance services, 12 subsection 13. So I would say whether he is B2B or B2C, location of such a registered person in case of B2B. So I cannot clearly find out where the service of insurance is being consumed. The only idea that I can get is what is the location of recipient if he is a registered person. If he is registered, then that location. If he is not registered, also the insurance company generally takes the record of the person who is taking the insurance policy. The location of recipient in the records of supplier. Now let us look at advertisement service given to government. This holds special significance because look at internet advertising. When you put an advertisement online, it could be viewed by any person from any state. So how do I distribute the advertisement value among the states? The government enters into an agreement with, let us say, Advent Advertising for advertising for this Aadhaar PAN linking in all the states. So the bulk amount of 10 lakhs is being paid for all the states in India. In this case, so how should Advent Advertising raise an invoice in each state? If the contract clearly specifies, the contract between Advent Advertising and the government of India clearly states that for each state this is the value, then it is okay. So based on the terms of contract, Advent should raise the invoice. If there is no clear specification, state-wise bifurcation of the value, then how do I bifurcate the total value? That is the question. So the government has come up with rule 3. As per section 12 subsection 14, the value would be dispersed or apportioned based on certain criteria. What is that criteria? It is given by rule 3. Now let us look at this. Here it is the type of advertisement, mode of apportionment. So we'll discuss it like this. Now the first type of advertisement is advertisement to central government, state government, local authority meant for state or union territory identified in the contract. So now if it is identifiable as per the contract, then as per the contract, whatever it is determined, that is how I will break up the value. Now where value cannot be attributable to different states as per the contract, then this is what we'll look at. Advertisement in newspaper and publication. In case of advertisement in newspaper and publication, I will break up based on the amount payable in respect of all the editions of a newspaper or publication published in each state. So that means, let us take Indian Express for example. If the government wants to publish Beti Bachao Beti Padhao program advertisement in the state of in state of Andhra Pradesh and Delhi. Now in Andhra Pradesh there are lots of editions for Indian Express. It has the Vijayawada edition, it has the Vizag edition. So in states also lot of district wise editions are there for Indian Express. So the payment should be made to each edition, right? Because the billing is also done by Indian Express edition wise. The amount payable is also taken into account based on what did I publish in the newspaper. So that data would be available for Indian Express. So the value will be bifurcated based on the amount payable for all the editions put together for a state. Vijayawada, Vizag, Nellore, all the editions put together in a state, what is the value payable for that state? So that is how I break up. Let us say 10 lakhs is the total amount payable that I know as per the agreement. So taking into account the advertisements published in each edition, the amount payable for all the editions put together in the state of Andhra Pradesh come up to 4 lakhs. So the amount attributable to AP would be 4 lakhs. So the balance of 6 lakhs would be attributable to New Delhi. So that is how the apportionment would happen. The amount payable in respect of all the editions of a newspaper or publication in each state or union territory. Now, in case of advertisement through printed material, what is printed material? Pamphlets. Alright, pamphlets in newspaper, normal distribution of cards or brochures. So, how would, let us say, the bulk amount of 20 lakhs is payable for the states of Maharashtra and Uttar Pradesh. Now, how do I break up? It depends on how many pamphlets are distributed in each state. Let us say 50,000 pamphlets are distributed in Uttar Pradesh and 1,50,000 pamphlets are distributed in Delhi. In this case, I will break up the 20 lakhs based on 50,000 is to 1,50,000 in that ratio. Value shall be apportioned in the ratio of number of material distributed in each state or union territory. Alright. In case of hoardings, for hoardings also, the pricing would be like how much centimeters of advertisement. So per centimeter rate would be there, and also depending on the locality. The value is clearly available. So in the state of, let us say, AP and Maharashtra, I put hoardings for the government. So the total amount payable for all the hoardings that have been displayed in AP would be the value attributable to Andhra Pradesh. The amount payable for all the hoardings in the state of Maharashtra would be the value attributable to Maharashtra. Alright, that is how the value would be distributed. Advertisement on trains. Let us say 20 lakhs bulk amount is payable to Advent Advertising for advertisement on Simhapuri Express, which goes from Telangana to Nellore. In that case, how do I distribute? Because the advertisement is being displayed in AP and Telangana. In this case, the distribution would be based on the number of railway stations in each state. So let us say 20 lakhs is the bulk amount payable and 50 stations are in Telangana and 150 stations are in AP. So the 20 lakhs bulk amount would be apportioned to Telangana and AP based on the number of stations in that ratio. Amount attributable to each state is in proportion of the length of the railway track in each state. Alright, the amount attributable would be based on the length of railway track. So let us say 500 kilometers in Telangana, that train runs, that specific train, and 1000 kilometers in AP, that train runs. So in the ratio 500 is to 1000, that is how the total bulk amount of 20 lakhs would be apportioned, right, based on the length of the train track in each state. Advertisement on the back of utility bills and gas companies. Amount shall be apportioned on the basis of number of consumers having billing addresses in each state or union territory. Obviously, the number of people having electricity connections in the state of Telangana would be known. In the state of Maharashtra would be known. Based on the number of electricity connections, that is the ratio based on which the value of supply would be apportioned to each state. In case of advertisements on the back of railway tickets. So in a train ticket, if you buy in New Delhi or Tamil Nadu, you will find Act Fiber advertisement. So Act Fiber, let us say, agreed to pay 20 lakhs, or let us say, because we are talking about government ads, the government agreed to pay 20 lakhs for advertising on the back of railway tickets to an advertising agency. In this case, the 20 lakhs would be apportioned to two states based on the number of railway stations in each state. Let us say Maharashtra and Himachal Pradesh are the states where the advertisement has to be displayed on the back of railway tickets. So the number of railway stations in Himachal Pradesh and Maharashtra would be the ratio based on which the bulk amount of 20 lakhs would be apportioned. Advertisement on radio stations. Now, radio stations are also multiple in number. Just like we've discussed in newspapers, editions, the sum payable for all the editions put together in a state. Similarly, for Radio Mirchi in Telangana, it has various editions. Hyderabad edition, Medak edition, lot of editions are there. So in that case, the total amount payable for all the radio stations put together in a state for Radio Mirchi would be the amount attributable to that state, amount payable to all the radio stations of a state. Alright, that is how the apportionment would happen. In case Telangana and Maharashtra are the states where the radio advertisement needs to be published. In that case, how much is the amount payable to all the radio stations combined in Telangana? How much is the amount payable to all the radio stations combined in Maharashtra? So taking that into account, I apportion the total value. In case of advertisement in television, simple viewership. What is the viewership in all the states to which I need to distribute? The viewership data will be taken from the last week of the immediately preceding quarter published by the Broadcast Audience Research Council. So let us say this quarter I need to publish an advertisement in television. So what is the data of viewership figures available for 31st March, for the quarter of 31st March, last week of the quarter of January to March of 2020. That figures I'll take. Let us say in the state of Himachal Pradesh, the viewership figures are 80,000 people watch the channel. In, let us say, Uttarakhand, 20,000 people watch this channel. That is the data available as per the Audience Research Council. So based on that ratio, I divide the amount payable, total amount payable. 10 lakhs is divided based on this ratio. Now advertisement in cinema halls. This is also quite easy. The amount payable to all the multiplexes in a state on which the display of advertisement has happened. So based on that, the total value is apportioned. Let us say 10 lakhs is the total amount payable to Advent advertising by the government. It has displayed it in the states of Sikkim and Jammu and Kashmir. In this case, so how do I distribute it? So in all the theatres of Jammu and Kashmir put together, what is the amount payable? So some figure would come. And in the state of Sikkim, what is the total amount payable for all the theatres where the advertisement was displayed? So in that ratio, the total amount of 10 lakhs would be distributed. In case of advertisement on the internet, internet means all the states in the country. There is a statement that there is a provision that deemed that service is provided all over India. Now, it is apportioned on the basis of, just like television viewership figures, internet subscribers figures taken from the TRI website of the last quarter of a financial year would be applicable for the next year's calculation. So let us say for this quarter of April to June, I want to advertise on the internet. The figures that I would take are the last quarter's figures of the preceding financial year for calculating the basis of apportionment for the next year. So for the entire year of 2021, the figures for 1920 last quarter would be taken. The viewership figures of the last quarter would be taken. The figures published by TRA of the last quarter of financial year are used for calculating number of internet subscribers for the succeeding financial year, apportioned on the basis of internet subscribers of a state or union territory. Let us say I want to, so now advertisement published on the internet would have been viewed by all the states. So based on viewership figures of all the states of all of the entire country, I have to apportion. This is a humongous task, but it needs to be done. Advertisement through SMS. So in this case, SMS based on the telecom subscribers as per the TRA figures of the last financial year. In some cases, what it does is the figures are available for an entire region, southern region. It says in all the south states, viewership is given in a clubbed manner. If that is the case, in order to apportion between all the states of the south, I take the help of the population figures of each state as per the latest census, and then I again apportion them in that manner. In case internet subscriber figures are given for a region comprising of 2 or more states, it is further apportioned based on the population in the states as per the latest census. Let us look at section 13, where the supplier or the recipient of service, any one of them is located outside India, then you have to look at section 13. Section 13 subsection 2 is again a general clause. General clause, what does it say? It says that where is the service consumed, location of the recipient of service, or location of supplier of service if the location of recipient is not available. Simple. Section 13 subsection 3, it gives us service in respect of goods where the goods are required to be made available physically by the recipient. Now where the services are provided from a remote location, now what does this mean? In certain cases for research and development, many of the foreign countries, they send the goods to India for testing a medicine, let us say. People send medicines from somewhere else and they test it in India. The testing services are provided by Indian companies. In that case, the goods are required to be physically made available by the foreign country, or in that case, where is the service actually performed? The service is actually place where services are actually performed, is the place where the service is actually consumed. It is in India. So that is the place of supply. Even in case of C, service supplied to an individual which requires the physical presence of an individual. So let us say X makes a supply of service of he's a makeup artist. He's a makeup artist who is registered in India. He provides service to someone in the United States. He goes to United States and provides supply of service there. In this case, what is the place of supply? The place where service is actually performed, which is outside India. The physical presence of the individual is required. He either comes to India or the makeup artist goes outside India. So that would be the place of supply, where the service is actually performed. Where the services are provided from a remote location. Let us say a software company in India provides some testing service or some upgradation of software service from India to a company outside India, to a US company, let us say. In this case, this is in relation to a goods which is software, but there is no physical presence of the goods required. The service is being provided online, maybe from a remote location or not, but the service is being provided online in respect of the software. So in this case, the place of supply would be the location of the goods at the time when services are supplied. So what is the location of the goods? It is India. Let us take a medicinal sample, for example, or even let me say I'm providing the service of enhancing a design for a house. I'm just enhancing a design for a house or some kind of machinery which is being built. I'm just looking at the blueprint. I am making changes to that blueprint online. I'm just looking at it online and trying to upgrade the design in the manner possible. In this case also, where services are being provided from a remote location, the location of the goods at the time of supply of service, the drawings are something that could be called goods, but the service is being provided from a remote location, online. I'm just doing it online, everything. I could be in any place. So in this case, the location of the goods at the time of supply of service, it is India. Now service supplied to an individual, this we already discussed. So ultimately section 13 subsection 3 says services in relation to goods. It talks of service in relation to goods. But what about, why was this not mentioned in section 12? Because there was no need. It would have been the location of the recipient. It would have been covered under the general category. Here there was a need because if any of the supplier is outside India, the place of supply would be outside India because the recipient generally is outside India. The government did not want the tax to go away. That is why it prescribes the place where services are actually performed as the place of supply in order to get tax. All of this is with an intention to bring the tax to India. Where the services are performed from a remote location, be it the service of upgradation of drawings or software changes that are being performed by me online, all of this is where the location of the goods at the time of supply of service. Service supplied to an individual, makeup artist, the place where service is actually performed. So this is what 13.3 is. 13.4, services directly in relation to immovable property. It is obviously the location of immovable property. In this case, he is not saying including service of real estate agent, including right to use immovable property, ancillary services also. He does not say if the location of immovable property is outside India, the place of supply is deemed to be location of recipient. He does not say it because one of the supplier or recipient is a person located in non-taxable territory, so he's okay with it. He's okay with it. The location of immovable property, let us say, in this case, a real estate agent, previously we discussed the real estate agent for purchase of property in Dubai. The supplier of services, the Dubai agent, the agent is also of Dubai. In this case, this clause would apply, and the place of supply would be outside India because the location of immovable property is outside India. In case the real estate agent is Indian, the place of supply would be the location of recipient, which is in India, as per section 12. Now look at 13 subsection 5. Service by admission to organization of cultural, artistic, sporting, educational, scientific, entertainment events, conference fairs, similar events, including services ancillary to such admission, shall be place where event is actually held. The place of supply is place where event is actually held. Alright, previously what did he say? If the event is held outside India, the place of supply is the location of the recipient. Here he just cannot do it. Alright, because either of the supplier or recipient are outside India. So it is only fair that, because he might be paying tax in that other country, so there should not be double taxation, right? So 13 subsection 6, where services as per 3 to 5 are supplied at more than one location, including a location in taxable territory. So the place to supply is the, so what does this mean? In case, let us take the example in case of 13 subsection 6, Tom Cruise has hired an Indian event management company for promoting his Mission Impossible in India, Japan and China. In that case, the supplier is in India, the recipient is Tom Cruise outside India. Now the place of supply is crucial. Here, the event management company is providing service in 3 countries where one of it is a taxable territory. So the entire bill raised by the Indian event management company on Tom Cruise would be subject to tax in India because of this clause. See, what he says is, even at least one, it is being provided at multiple locations where at least one location is in India, then the entire value is subject to tax. The entire bill raised on Tom Cruise is subject to tax in India. So that is unfortunate, but it might lead to double taxation, but that is the law. 13 subsection 7, where services are supplied in more than one state or union territory, the place shall be each such state or union territory as per the agreement entered into. Now, in case there is no agreement entered into, if let us say the service is being provided in multiple states, so what is attributable to each state? Let us say 10 lakhs is the bulk amount that I give a service provider for providing service in 2 states. So how much do I attribute to state 1, how much do I attribute to state 2? That is the question that needs to be answered in as per section 12 and section 13. We have not discussed it because we'll discuss it together now. So the value attributable, if it is clearly defined as per the contract entered into between the service provider and service recipient, then it will be as per the contract. If it is not mentioned in the contract at all, then rule 5 and rule 6. Now what does rule 4 say? Service by way of accommodation in a hotel, guest house and its ancillary services other than where single property is located in 2 or more states. So the accommodation, it is a single hotel. Radisson has a chain of hotels. Let us say the franchise is also the same, let us say in 2 states. So I enter into an agreement for stay of my director with Radisson. Now the service is being provided by Radisson in 2 different states, but I just give a bulk amount to Radisson. In this case, the service value of 1 lakh, let us say, will be distributed based on number of nights of stay in each state. Let us say 3 nights in Maharashtra and 7 nights in Delhi. So based on 3:7 ratio, I will apportion this 1 lakh rupees based on number of nights stayed in such property. Other than, let us say, if the hotel is spread across 2 states, so it is in the hotel is in the border of Karnataka and it is touching Tamil Nadu also. So in this case, how would I distribute it to both the states? Apart from this, in any other case where the service is provided in 2 states where there is no agreement entered into for distribution, so this will be the mode of distribution based on number of nights of stay for accommodation in hotel. All other services in relation to immovable property, real estate, including accommodation where property is located in 2 states, will be based on the area of immovable property. So real estate agent provides me services to purchase properties in 2 states. So one property is of 2000 SFT, the other property in another state is of 4000 SFT. So the amount, let us say 10 lakhs I pay to the real estate agent. So I portion it to both the state. The real estate agent has to bill in such a way that he has to bill for 2 states separately. The billing would be of 10 lakhs apportioned to both the states in the ratio of 2000 SFT is to 6000 SFT. So 2:6 ratio, the real estate agent will give 2 separate bills for 2 separate states. Alright, the proportionate basis will be based on the area of immovable property. In case of services by way of lodging or accommodation in a houseboat or vessel, so let us say the houseboat, I enter into an agreement to drive a houseboat. So one couple are into a honeymoon and they take the houseboat for themselves. The houseboat travels from the Tamil Nadu waters to the Maharashtra waters also. So the service is being provided by the houseboat owner in 2 states. So then how will I apportion the value payable to each state? So let us say 50,000 is payable for let us say 10 hours. So for 2 hours it is in the state Maharashtra. So I'll apportion this 50,000 in the ratio of 2:8 because 2 hours it has stayed in Maharashtra, 8 hours it is in the state of Karnataka. So that is how the apportionment will be. Time spent by the boat or vessel in each state. This is given by rule 4 as per section 12 and rule 8 as per section 13. Understood? Organization of an event in the absence of a contract. So for organizing an event, if I am organizing an event for in multiple states, if Tom Cruise comes and gives promotion in 3 states, so how will this advertising agency raise a bill or event management company raise a bill on Tom Cruise? So it will be based on the generally accepted accounting principles. Maybe the cost incurred by the event management company or based on some prudent accounting principle, mostly cost, as per 5 and 9. Now, rule 6 talks of something else. As we've discussed, services supplied in relation to goods would be the place where service is actually performed. In case it is provided from a remote location, the location of the goods at the time when service is supplied. Alright, for that, if the service is provided in multiple locations, multiple states, so let us say the medical testing is being done for a drug in 3 states, but a bulk amount is being given. So how would I apportion the value to each state? If the services supplied are on the same goods, if the drug is the same, the value is divided equally in all the states. Alright, if Reddy Labs is conducting testing on the same drug in 3 different states, then let us say 30 lakhs is given by the foreign company, I will apportion to 3 states equally, 10, 10, 10 lakhs each. That is how the billing would be done. Alright, now by Reddy Labs, service supplied on different goods. So 3 different drugs in 3 different states, the testing is being done by Reddy Labs. So it will be apportioned based on the ratio of invoice value of the goods on which service is performed. In this case, let us take a different example of I conduct car servicing. So let us take in the drug example itself, what is the value of the drug that is being tested? So if let us say the value of drug in state 1 is per drug is let us say one drug costs 5,000 rupees, the other drug costs 10,000, the other drug costs 20,000. So in that ratio I will apportion the total bill amount. Services supplied to individuals. So in case the service is supplied to individuals, a makeup artist provides service in 3 different states. Right, Javed Habib conducts makeup in 3 different states. How would I apportion? Based on the cost incurred by Javed Habib, he will apportion the total bill value. Alright. Now, section 13, subsection 8. Let us move forward. In case of banking financial institution, in case of intermediary services are nothing but facilitating the supply of goods or services, but not making the supply directly on account. Services by way of hiring of means of transport, including yacht, but excluding aircraft vessels up to a period of 1 month. So if a bank provides services, the supplier of services bank, the recipient is in India, let us say it is a foreign bank, the place of supply would be the location of supplier of service. In case it is a foreign bank, it is I withdraw amount from an ATM in India for a foreign bank, the place of supply would be location of supplier of service. If it is a foreign bank, the supplier of service is outside India and the place of supply is outside India. Intermediary services. It is nothing but facilitating supply of goods or service. I have a marketing agent outside India. He is providing service to me. The supply of service is outside India. Place of supply would be outside India. He sells my goods in New York. That means he raises a bill on me. The recipient is in India. In this case, the place of supply is outside India because the location of supplier is outside India. Service of hiring of means of transport. Let us say I have a yacht that I give on hire for a period of up to 30 days only. If it is more than 30 days, this is not applicable. The yacht belongs to a foreigner. Yacht belongs to a foreigner. Supplier of services outside India. The recipient of services, I take this yacht on rent for 15 days. In this case, the place of supply is location of supplier. So remember this 30 days rule. If it is hired for more than 30 days, the general principle would apply. What would it be? The location of recipient would be the place of supply and not the location of supplier. In case it is hiring of an aircraft or vessel, this provision is not applicable. This is only applicable to a yacht and other means of transport excluding a aircraft and vessel. If an aircraft and vessel is hired, the general provision would apply. Section 13 subsection 2, where the place of supply would be location of recipient. Now section 13 subsection 9, transportation of goods other than by way of mail or courier. Now it would be the destination of goods. Simple, goods transport agency, where a foreign transporter, I hire a foreign logistics company to carry my goods to some other country. In this case, the place of supply is the destination of goods. Transportation of passengers, simple, place where he embarks on a continuous journey. Place of supply in case of services taken on board a conveyance. It will be the first scheduled point of departure. In case of foreign flight, I take the service of watching a lot of movies. The first place where that flight starts leaving from, first scheduled point of departure of that flight would be the place of supply. OIDR service. In case of OIDR service, online information database and retrieval service, like let us say online classes, where there is minimal human intervention. GoDaddy website creation. So the place of supply would be the locate. GoDaddy is a foreign supplier. I am an Indian recipient of service. In this case, place of supply would be the location of recipient. But however, there are certain conditions. Location of the recipient shall be deemed to be in the taxable territory. I would have said to be in the taxable territory mandatorily, even though I am outside India, provided any of the two conditions are satisfied. What are those conditions? Location of the address of recipient is in taxable territory. When I register for GoDaddy, I would give some address, right? The address that I give GoDaddy, if it is in India, if it is an Indian address, then the recipient of service would be said to be in India. So the debit card or credit card that I use to create a website, make payment for GoDaddy for website creation, if it is an Indian debit card issued in India, then the recipient of service is deemed to be in India. So one more condition is satisfied. Billing address. So the billing address that I give to GoDaddy, if it is in India, then this is also one condition satisfied. So the IP address from where I contact GoDaddy for creating a website, if it is in India, then the address of the recipient is said to be in India. The bank of the recipient in which account is used for payment is maintained in the taxable territory. So the bank which I use for making payment to GoDaddy, if it is an Indian bank located in India, then this is also said to be in the taxable territory. The SIM, if I make a phone call, if it has an Indian code +91, then it is said to be in the taxable territory. Now if I make a tele call from a fixed landline, then where is the location of the fixed landline? If it is in India, then if any of the two of the specified conditions are satisfied, then the location of recipient is said to be deemed to be in the taxable territory, even though I am not in the taxable territory. Even if I am an NRI who just made this one transaction in India, still the service is said to have been received in India. So the place of supply is deemed to be the location of recipient, right? So it would be in the taxable territory. So this concludes our discussion on place of supply. Thank you very much.